Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and meet the Mets.
Bring your kitties and bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life.
Because the Mets are really fucking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side.
Everybody's coming down to meet the M-E-T-S Mets of New York Town.
Joining us on episode 2 of Meet the Mets is the man who signed with the New York Mets as an undrafted free agent. He made his major league debut on August 24th, 2004, pitching 2 scoreless innings with 3 strikeouts against the San Diego Padres. He is a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Rolaids Reliever of the Year. He appeared in close to 600 games in his 11-year major league career. It's time to meet the Mets and Heath Bell. Welcome, Heath.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's going to be fun.
Our pleasure. So the first question right off the bat, favorite road stadium?
Favorite road stadium? When I was a Met player?
Yes.
The favorite road stadium when I was a New York Met was probably Philadelphia. Always probably Philly, just because here's the thing. A lot of people say Pittsburgh, hitters wise, because it's a beautiful backdrop or whatnot. I'm in the bullpen. So imagine going to center field or right field or left field and looking at home plate. And I think Philly has the best backdrop of behind home plate than any other ballpark. So that's kind of how I watched the games. Was if you were an outfield, if you're always sitting in the outfield as a fan, that's how I would watch a game. So, Philly has all those different tiers, and it's a good place to watch a game from the outfield.
Favorite road restaurant?
Probably any steakhouse, really. There's so many good ones. I can't really pick one because so many cities had really good steaks. Let's just, my wife's favorite is Ruth Chris, so let's just say that. But there's probably some good ones in Seattle, like sushi places that I've been to that I cannot pronounce the name, that Kazmat Sui took me to. So I could say one of those, a sushi place up in Seattle, or any steakhouse, really.
Batter you owned and the batter who owned you?
Oh, the batter that owned me, Andrew Jones. He was really hot when I first came up with the Mets, and I think he's got like 5 or 6 home runs hit off me. So I'd never even when his career was kind of ending and mine was really, thriving, I still had fear facing him. The one guy that I probably owned that here's the thing. When I went out there and pitched, I respected every single hitter out there. Even though I knew I could get him out, I felt like I feared him just because that would make me do a little bit better, where I had to be perfect, where like Matt Holliday or Tulowitzki or Matt Kemp, the days when I was in San Diego, I felt like I owned those guys, but they were so good. I never allowed myself to say I own those guys because they were always tough outs, but I just knew I could get him out. But the one, I'm thinking as I'm talking right now, let me think, is Ryan Klesko. I will say that I probably absolutely owned, and I probably only faced him probably 4 or 5 times. And the reason I'm going to say I owned him is because when Barry Bonds was playing for San Francisco, he hit after him. And it was like, oh, I'll get him out. No problem. So if I walk Barry or whatnot, I'm 0 for 2 with 2 walks with Barry. So I got him out twice and I walked him twice. But Ryan Klesko was hitting after him. And I was like, oh, that's an easy out. So I'd have to say Ryan Klesko. Sorry, Ryan, if you're listening.
Right. So a player you played against who's not in the Hall of Fame but belongs there, and why?
There's probably a lot because I've played with a lot of Hall of Fame guys. I mean, I want to say there's like 12 of them that were Hall of Famers. Or, David Wright, I think, should be a Hall of Famer. I think his numbers don't show it because he had some injuries towards the middle to end of his career. I was going to say Adrian Gonzalez at first base with San Diego, but no, I'm going to say David Wright was like, I think a Hall of Famer is somebody that you feared, or the majority of the league feared, for at least 6 to 7 years. And David Wright was one of those guys. David Wells, I think, should be in the Hall of Fame. He's a teammate of mine. I just think he pissed off too many writers. But definitely Billy Wagner, I think, should be a Hall of Famer. I played with him for 1 year in New York. Johnny Franco was phenomenal too. But yeah, one guy I'm thinking of, and it's fun, I keep going back to Mets players, is Mike Cameron. Mike Cameron, I think people don't give him enough credit how good he was. So anyway, yeah, those guys.
Those are good. Those are good ones. Strangest on-field conversation you've ever had, whether it be with a coach, catcher, umpire, anybody.
Strangest conversation I've ever had. I've had a lot of different ones. The strangest one, I would say, okay, so I was in Philadelphia. I was a Met. I was a young guy. Pat Burrow was up to bat. I threw I think a curveball for a strike, 3, called it a ball. Next pitch, got a hit. The next day, I was walking out to the bullpen, and it was actually Joe West umpiring, and we all know, I don't think he was a bad umpire, but he just liked to be in the middle of everything. Angel Hernandez is a bad umpire. But there's some other bad umpires, but I remember, like, I'm getting off to the question here, but like CB Buckner, I think a lot of people thought he was bad at umpire. I respected CB for the simple fact there was one game the manager was yelling and screaming at him because he was bad. I mean, I wasn't on the mound. And he took off his mask, looked, and goes, "Dude, I'm having a hard day. Just leave me the F alone." And it was like, really? But I mean, for him to honestly say something like that, I thought I got to give him some respect. But so anyway, I was in Philly, gave up a hit to Pat Burrow, and I was walking down, and the umpire pulled me aside and goes, "Hey, kid, I screwed up yesterday. That should have been a strike." And I said, "Yeah, it's all right. I'm a rookie." And he's like, "No, I screwed up." And I'm like, "Well, we can't do anything about it now." And he goes, "Damn right." And I'm like, okay, that was kind of weird by an umpire that I never expected. But some other conversations that, guys would just come up and ask weird questions. What is your favorite cook? What is your wife's favorite cooking at home? Like, what's your favorite meal or something like that? Or you're just like, what the hell are we talking about? We weren't even talking about my wife. So anyway, stuff like that. The weirdest thing an umpire's ever done, because I know that might be another question, is I think it's Mike Wolf. Was it Randy Wolf, his brother that was a pitcher? But anyway, Mike Wolf, the umpire. I used to love to throw to him because he would always throw me a knuckleball back. If he was at home plate and I had to get a new ball, he'd throw me knuckleball, he'd throw me a curveball. I mean, he had some nasty shit. So it was always fun to have him there. Then towards the end of my career, some of the umpires wouldn't even have a conversation with the players. It was like they were told not to talk to us. So that was kind of the sad part. But anyway.
Day or night game, and why?
I like night games because I grew up and never got to play under the lights. So I loved playing under the lights. And yeah, that's probably it, because I grew up watching the Cubs on WGN, like I think everybody did, before cable was cable. And they didn't have any lights, so we watched all day games. But just there's something to play like at night under under the lights. It's exciting, I don't know if you're very fortunate to do it. I mean, I know a lot of high schoolers play at night now, but our game would be at the end, and we'd have to call it because there was no more light. So playing under the lights, night game is probably it.
Favorite pregame meal or pregame ritual or superstition?
Didn't really have a meal. The only thing I would say is it wasn't a pregame thing. It wasn't a superstition thing. I wasn't big into superstitions. I just had routines. But sometimes you for whatever reason, you don't get your routine. So, it didn't faze me if I did have my routine or not. But I used to run on the treadmill and then go eat and take a shower and eat an ice cream. And everybody like, didn't you just run on the treadmill? And I'm like, yeah, I'm playing for the tie, man. I just ran a half hour so I could eat this ice cream. But probably still do that today. I probably shouldn't do that. But because I could probably lose about 30 pounds. But anyway, before the game, I'd put on a necklace that my oldest daughter gave me once for my birthday. I always had that, so she knew that she was always close to my heart when I played. But there were some games I forgot it because I ain't the perfect guy. But and it was funny. So many players came to me and goes, "Hey, I got some good cleaner that'll clean that right up." And I'm like, it was $11.99 at Universal Studios, man. And I think all the silver came off it. So it was, it was cheap, but I wore it, yeah, that was probably it. I used to listen to some music, I used to listen to Linkin Park and stuff before games, but I never had a ritual or like a superstition. I just kind of, I used to work out, go to batting practice, look over scouting report, take a shower, get dressed, listen to some music, and that's about it. But sometimes you couldn't because we didn't have enough time, so I couldn't really listen to the music, so I just went out there.
Most embarrassing baseball moment of your career?
I don't get embarrassed that much. There was one time I remember in San Diego, there was a ball hit between me and Adrian Gonzalez, and I dove for it, and I got it. Like one bouncer, and I kind of threw it. I dove, got it, threw it, but didn't get up on my knees because it was a fast runner. I forget who it was. And to this day, I was like, "Hey, man, that looked pretty good." And Adrian looked at me and goes, "Look, you look like a whale flopping out of the ocean, man." And I'm like, "No, I didn't, but I probably did." But I didn't really get that embarrassed. One thing that I always, so when I came in the game, even with the Mets, I used to put my head down and run, not sprint, but run good. And then I wouldn't pick my head up until I saw the infield dirt. So like at Shea Stadium, you're in right field, you put your head down and start running. And I was always scared that I would never see the infield dirt. And then all of a sudden I'm in left field, because I started rolling the wrong way or something, but that never happened. That was my only fear that I ever had, really. So, but I don't remember an embarrassment. I mean, there was times that, you lose a game and the other team walks it off. That happened a few times to me where you feel embarrassed, you feel bad, or you blow a lead and you feel bad. And it's kind of like, man, I let the team down. Never really embarrassed.
If you had a time machine, could go back to any era of baseball and face one batter, who would it be and why?
Face one batter. Shit. Here's the thing. I'd love to face love baseball history and love to face like Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle or those guys, because I definitely think I would have got them out just because it was a different time. But the one guy that I really wish I would have faced was Mark McGwire. I played the same time as him, but as a reliever, I never got to face him. And growing up, you kind of wanted, at my generation growing up in the 80s and 90s was, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, hitting all those home runs. I got to face Sammy, struck him out a few times, but never got to face Mark. So that's probably the one guy that I probably wish I would have faced back in the day. I got to face Barry Bonds. I got to face Mike Piazza. I got to face, yeah, probably Mark McGuire. So my time machine doesn't go back that far. But it's honestly like honestly, time. If I had to do this, I would fast forward my playing days to now, because a lot of guys, the launch angle and face like Mike Trout. That's another guy, because he was in the American League, I was in the National League. I'd like to face Trout because I think I could get him out. But really it's not like way back when, because honestly back then I think a lot of guys today could get those guys out, because I don't think the pitchers threw that hard. They could throw a long time and the ball moved and stuff. It's more like older men, hitting now. Or what I'm saying is, like, I play in a men's league right now. I think in the 20s and 30s and 40s, that's pretty much how the Major League Baseball was. You were either really good or you were just average, and you didn't throw real hard, but you could get the ball to move and sink and do this and change speeds, and that's all pitching is. But now it's about throwing really hard and throwing nasty and how far I can hit it. But a lot of hitters nowadays, it's about how far you can hit it. But the two guys I guess I would say is Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. Two guys that I played against, not Albert Pujols, sorry, Mark McGuire. Two guys that I was playing during the same kind of era, but I never got to face for, different leagues, or just didn't, the reliever, I don't get to face everybody. And McGuire was on his last couple of years of his contract, and I was brand new, and yada, yada, yada.
Best baseball movie and why?
Best baseball movie. Oh, jeez. Okay, best baseball movie. The Natural's good. Sandlot's good. Anytime Bull Durham or Major League is on, I stop and watch. So I got to pick two, because one, I was in the minor leagues for so long, 8 different years. So Bull Durham kind of hits a lot of those things, and Bull Durham's probably the closest to minor leagues true. And then major leagues, it's just a good movie. It's a good, fun movie. It really is. Those are my two top movies. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd probably say Bull Durham. But I mean, I love Little Big League, Rookie of the Year. I love a lot of those good movies. So anyway, but yeah, Major League and Bull Durham, my favorite two.
Most memorable Met moment.
When I came in Shea Stadium, man, this is going to be a weird moment for me or for you. So here's the thing. I got two. One, I wasn't a Met. So to open up Citi Field, I was a Padre, but I got the first save ever at Citi Field. And I have the ball. The Mets didn't want it because Jody Garrett hit a leadoff home run. So the Padres got the first hit and first run. Chris Young, that's now the GM for the Rangers, got the first hit, and I mean the first win. I think he went 8 innings, and I got the first save. Got Delgado out for the last fly out. I think I struck him out the last out of the inning, and Mets didn't want the ball or anything, so I actually have it. But as a Met, it's getting to Shea Stadium and working. I mean, I worked forever to get to, they get non-drafted free agent. Finally get there. I wanted to take Johnny Franco's job. You just dream of being a Met your whole career, my whole life. That's all I did. Everybody says, we'll play for anybody. No, I just wanted to be a Met. And so I get to Shea Stadium, get in the locker room. I get in the bullpen. I say, don't look at the stands. Don't look at the stands. This is the same thing as our AAA stadium in Norfolk, Virginia at the time. Just watch the game. Watch the game. So I go out there. We're playing the Padres. First guy, I strike out 3 straight fastballs. Didn't have a chance. Let's not talk about that. It was David Wells. It was a pitcher. But the next batter, Brian Giles, struck him out with the best changeup I've ever thrown since then. Or today. It was a changeup that literally I threw at his hip and it broke on the outside corner and for strike 3. Still to this day, the best changeup I've ever thrown. And anyway, pitched 2 innings and came out of the game. And I forget who said it to me. Said something like, "Hey, that was your first outing ever in the big leagues." And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You struck out 4 guys." And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why didn't you throw your first strikeout? Why don't you throw the ball over to the side?" I went, I didn't want to act like a rookie. I just want to act like I've done it before. And that's probably the only thing I ever regret about, my major league career is I don't have that ball. I have my first strikeout ball in the minor leagues, but I don't have it as a big leaguer. So, because I didn't want to act like, a rookie. So, and it was funny because tell that story about 3 weeks later, John Franco and Mike Stan, the lefty reliever, they found out that I was a rookie like 2-3 weeks ago or after that. And they thought I'd been in the big leagues before, just the way I acted. So, but anyway, that's my best memory of a Met is my first day. Those are my 2 biggest ones. One, when I opened up Citi Field as a Padre against the Mets. And I was willing to give the ball to New York, but they didn't want it. And then as a Met, my first game, 2 innings after Chris Benson pitched, we were up 4 runs and striking David Wells out, Brian Giles, all that stuff. And then never getting the strikeout ball that I had. I just grabbed a ball from that game, but I just grabbed it in the game ball bucket. But I think I told people at the time that was my first big league strikeout, but it wasn't.
Sing as much as the Meet the Mets song as you can.
We never played it. Meet the Mets. Yay, meet the Mets. There you go. That's all I know. Here's the thing. My first year, we had Johnny Franco, and every Sunday we had Frank Sinatra. And then the next year we didn't have Franco there, and they stopped playing Sinatra. And things just, I've only heard the Mets song probably like 2 or 3 times. So yeah, meet the Mets. Heath Bell doesn't know this song.